The 12th Economic Forum of the regions of Belarus and Russia closed on Friday in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, Belarus, with over 100 contracts signed among the participating nations. The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, granted the most Mortem journalists award to Iranian journalists Nima, Rajabpour and Masoumeh, Azim, who lost their lives during the recent Israeli attacks against Tehran, Iran. And the Mexican government reported that its bank systems remain solid and is operating normally, indicating that the resources of the account holders of the three intervened institutions are safe. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the teleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The 12th Economic Forum of the regions of Belarus and Russia closed on Friday in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, Belarus, with over 100 contract signs among the participant nations. During his speech at the last session, Belarus President Alexander Lukashenko highlighted the results of the forum over the years, but said there was still a lot of work to do. Lukashenko also stressed the importance of fulfilling the commitments agreed to expand regional ties, create new joint ventures, and ensure technological sovereignty. During a news conference held in the landside of the Eurasian Summit in Minsk, Russian President Vladimir Putin stated Moscow's readiness to hold the third round of peace talks with Ukraine.
We agreed that we would continue further contacts with Ukraine after the completion of the exchanges and after the humanitarian action that we proposed, namely, the transfer of the bodies of the fallen servicemen. We have already returned over 6,000 bodies and are ready to return almost 3,000 more. But it is up to the Ukrainian side to accept the bodies of its fallen soldiers. We are ready to hold such a meeting in Istanbul. As for when exactly, the heads of the negotiating teams on both sides, and they, by the way, are regularly in touch, call each other all the time, and in my opinion this is not bad already, are now discussing the time for another meeting. Well, what will be the subject? The subject, in my opinion, should be the discussion of memoranda of both sides.
Moving on, the Palestinian government condemned on Friday the U.S.-Israeli Gaza Humanitarian Foundation for its alleged introduction of drugs inside flour bags distributed by the aid agency. The government's accusation was issued through an official statement of its media office after several social media posts shared images of pills of the type oxycodone, Portland discovered in the bags. The statement described as highly serious the possibility of some of these narcotic substances had been deliberately ground or dissolved in the flour itself, in which case it will be a serious attack against the region's public health and a grave violation of international humanitarian law. Israeli forces attacked southern Lebanon on Friday in a new aggressive escalation that left at least 1 death and 11 wounded. Zionist regime launched the new wave of airstrikes on the Balfour Ridge area, hitting a residential zone in the city of Nabatea, where a woman lost her life and almost a dozen other people were wounded. Tel Aviv justified the aggression by claiming that the Belarus resistance movement was using the site to manage its arsenal of fire and defense. On Friday, Israeli occupation targeted areas north of the Litani River, implementing a fire-built tactic intended to cause widespread destruction across southern Lebanon. Authorities registered 1 woman dead and another 20 civilians injured. The strike hit the Ali Al-Tahir Heights with some explosion occurring dangerously close to civilian homes on the town's outskirts. In Yemen, citizens rallied to show their support for Palestine and to condemn Israeli aggressions in the region. Protesters mobilized under the slogan, "We will continue to support Gaza and holy sites, no matter the challenges." Mobilizations also expressed gratitude for the success of the recent attacks by the Yemeni armed forces and the continuation of the naval and air blockade against Israel. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro held a phone conversation on Friday with the Emir of the State of Qatar, Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani. On an official statement, the government unveiled details of the call in which the South American head of state expressed his solidarity with the complex situation that Western Asia has been experiencing in recent weeks, and specifically the state of Qatar, and his hope that the recent ceasefire announced between Iran and the state of Israel is not just a pause, but the beginning of a true structural peace agreement for the entire region. For his part, the Emir of Qatar said he had received Venezuela's proposal to convene a summit for peace and against war, and highlighted the nation's diplomatic efforts in favor of regional stability. Both leaders reaffirmed the bonds of friendship and closeness between their peoples and governments, confirming their willingness to continue deepening bilateral cooperation in all areas, and agreed to maintain constant communications and to meet again to continue advancing on joint projects. Let's take a very short break, but remember you can join us on our TikTok account as teleSUR English, where you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. On Friday, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled to limit federal judges' power to block presidential orders. The vote was decided 6-3 by the 9-member bench during an emergency appeal related to the birthright citizenship case, where the conservative majority found that universal injunctions likely exceeded the equitable authority that Congress has given to the federal court. The U.S. current trade deficit has increased by $138.2 billion in the first quarter of 2025, marking a record high in President Trump's trade war. The current account measures the flow of goods, services, and investments into and out of a country, as well as its earning and spending abroad. As a percentage of gross domestic product, the deficits increased by 1.8 percentage points to 6%, which is the highest level since the peak record in 2006. On Friday, China clarified statements made by the U.S. President Donald Trump regarding an alleged agreement with China on tariffs. Beijing has clarified that it will receive the review and approve application for the export of controlled items in accordance with law and regulations. According to the Geneva and London meetings, the U.S. will eliminate a series of restrictive measures against China in response. On Friday, Indonesian President met with Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim to discuss expanding their country's bilateral cooperation. The Malaysian Prime Minister was welcomed at the Air Force Base in Jakarta by the Composite Honor Guard and a delegation from Indonesia, including the Minister of Investments, Foreign Affairs, and the Governor of Jakarta. Ibrahim's official visit to Jakarta includes an important agenda, which includes a meeting with leaders from both countries. The Cambodian government has warned of rising tensions along the border with Thailand following a month of clashes in the Mom Bay region. Senate President Hun Sen ordered the deployment of security forces to the region and instructed them to remain on a high alert in the event of an armed conflict with Thailand. During his first visit to the province, Hun Sen stated that Cambodia does not want war, but will stand firm against any hostile force that tries to violate its sovereignty. In the Central African Republic, the government declared 3 days of national mourning to honor the 30 students killed in an incident at the Barthélemy Bongara High School in Bangui. In this regard, President Faustin Archange also expressed his deepest condolences to the victims' families. The incident occurred a few meters from the National Assembly, where some 5,000 students crowded attempting to find the exit door of the school after the explosion of a generator. As a result, at least 30 of them died and 260 were injured and are being treated at the hospital. In this context, authorities estimate the figure would rise as the seriousness of the wounded was still to disclose. Ahead of next year's general elections in Sweden, the far-right Sweden Democrats Party issued a public apology for its Nazi past. The apology came following a study to determine what people thought about the party's position on Nazism. Some of its current members describes that past as despicable and reprehensible and apologized to the Swedish people. Party leader Jamie Atkinson repeatedly tried to distance the party from its extremist roots and rebrand its public image, even though it still supports xenophobic and discriminatory ideas. Let's take a last break, but before we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Activate the notification button and stay up to date on the world's most recent events. One final short break, don't go away.
That image will remain forever. The bombing of the building
Welcome back. The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, granted the Masoumeh in journalism award to Iranian journalists Nima, Rajabpour, and Azim, who lost their life during the recent Israeli attacks against Iran. During the ceremony for the journalists' days, the president presented the award to the ambassador of Iran to Venezuela, Ali Shehini, who received the award on behalf of the fallen colleagues. Both workers for the Iranian radio and television organization and were victims of the attacks while carrying out their informative work. In addition to the posthumous tribute, the Venezuelan president recognized the Iranian journalist Tahar Emami, who survived an attack while broadcasting live for a television channel in her country. In this context, Emami reiterated Venezuela's support to the Iranian peoples and governments condemning the Israel's attacks and stresses the importance of independent journalism in war context. On Friday in Panama, members of the United Alliance will continue protesting to demand an end to the criminalization of demonstrations against social security law. Representatives of social and political unions indicate that demonstrators are implicated to march towards a National Assembly in Tegucigalpa. Panamanians are demanding an end to humanitarian rights violations and excessive views by state security forces, particularly in the Bocas del Toro province. The Mexican government reports banks remain solid and is operating normally, indicating that the resources of the account holders of the three institutions are safe. The Secretary of Finance and Public Credit, Edgar Amador, assured that the Mexican banking systems remain solid and uninterrupted after the interventions made by the National Bank and Securities Commission to cheap banks and the package house.
The Mexican banking system has not experienced any interruption. It operates normally and remains one of the most solid at international level.
Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum points out that the U.S. has a serious demand for narcotics, so she either the problem is not only Mexico's concern.
There's this idea that the issue of drug trafficking is a Mexican issue, so of course we have to take care of what corresponds to us when we are doing it. But the issue is that the United States has the greatest demand for narcotics.
In Haiti, a major political and institutional crisis, former Prime Minister Claude Joseph was questioned for his alleged involvement in the assassination of former President Jovenel Moïse. The hearing was held at the Court of Appeal in Port-au-Prince as part of an investigation that had yet to be finally resolved. The summons was issued by the examining magistrate Walter Voltaire, who has pointed to several public figures as part of a complex and delicate plot. On Friday, the Venezuelan government strongly rejected recent reports issued by the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, condemning them as responsible, racist, and deeply politicized. Through an official statement, the Venezuelan government accused as hypocritical the someone who it mentions has remained completely silent in the face of ongoing genocide against the Palestinian people, who has not outright aware about the massacres carried out in Lebanon and Syria, now seeks to give moral lessons to the Venezuelan people. In addition, Caracas warns Mr. Turk has chosen to become an operative for the interests of U.S. imperial power, even traveling to Washington to receive instructions aimed at protecting and legitimizing Venezuelan terrorist groups operating from abroad with total impunity, adding that from there, he orchestrates campaigns to undermine Venezuela's democratic institutions without any success. Finally, the communique stressed that Mr. Torg does not defend human rights. He exploits them politically, that his journal seeks to undermine the credibility and effectiveness of the Office of the High Commissioner in collusion with the centers of powers that promotes war, economic blockade, and regime change. And in other topics, the government of Venezuela is working on the restoration of the main roads in the state of Mérida after the heavy rainfall of the last few days. In the Merideño Mortem, some roads were devastated by the flooding of the Chamo River, which destroyed nearly 16 bridges and thousands of houses. The Venezuelan authorities are working on the opening of an alternative road to allow the transit of residents as well as the transfer of corpses to other parts of the country. And the government of South Africa reports that the death toll from flooding in the east of the country has risen to 105. The provincial Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs of the Eastern Cape informed that in addition, the rains caused the forced displacements of more than 4,700 people. We have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our socials, around Facebook, on X, and on Instagram as well. For Telesur English and from the South, I'm Ana Marrero. Thank you for watching.